A further 2 suspects have been arrested in connection with alleged corruption involving bulk water utility Mhlathuze Water. The arrests follow an ongoing operation by the National Clean Audit Task Team and serious corruption investigations. 6 suspects have now been arrested, including a senior manager in the office of the Premier. The Hawks say that more arrests are imminent.
The chairperson of Mhlathuze Water Board of KwaZulu-Natal reported allegations of irregular appointment of service providers, that is a legal panel, without following the supply chain management protocols, as well as contravention of the Section 51, subsection 1 of the PFMA Act by not complying with the operational policies of the public entity. Investigation also revealed that some senior officials are implicated in the irregularities which resulted in the Mhlathuze Water Board of KwaZulu-Natal being prejudiced by an amount of plus minus 37 million.
Well, let's stay with this. In the latest round of arrests, the Hawks arresting the Director General in the office of the Premier, Nonhlanhla Mkhize. Mkhize allegedly threatened the Mhlathuze Water Board to stop an investigation into financial irregularities. And this is big. This is one of the big bulk water entities in the country. The Hawks saying that the investigation revealed that senior officials were implicated in irregularities. You heard the amount there, 37 million rand. Several people now arrested and should be appearing in the Durban Magistrate's Court soon. To discuss, we're joined by the Deputy Minister for Water and Sanitation, David Mahlobo. Thank you for being with us, Deputy Minister. Someone in the Premier's office, that is very high up. Any concern around the Premier and other officials who haven't been named?
On our part, Francine, we would want to welcome the work that is done by the law enforcement agencies. We know that Minister Mkhunu and His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa has spoken that we should be able to clean up the water sector, especially our water services institutions, including the water boards, because there are instances of corruption, malfeasance, and resources that are being redirected to other things other than provision of water and sanitation services to our people. Therefore, we are aware that the leadership of the Water Board, they brief us as a ministry, that there are a number of investigations. And one of the investigations that they've conducted about certain officials that are alleged to be involved in certain malpractices and contravention of the law. And the law enforcement agencies, after the report has been produced by this agency called Mhlathuze Water, those issues that were bordering on criminality, we are very pleased that now that the law enforcement agencies have acted and have acted very swiftly, we are hopeful that there is going to be a speedy trial, and those that are being brought into book, they are able to answer and account for the allegations that are being made.
Yeah. Sure, but my question again, this has been an ongoing investigation, and initially the spotlight was on members of the actual bulk water entity itself, but now it's moved to somebody in the Premier's office. Are you concerned about the former Premier of KwaZulu-Natal or any other politicians being drawn into this?
Well, at this stage, we don't want to make issues of making judgments around the work the police have done, because some of the people that they've actually been arrested, there are certain processes that the Hawks and the justice system, they are going to be involved. Our view is that the law enforcement agencies, they should act without any fear of favor or prejudice, irrespective of the position that individuals they hold, so that at least these institutions, especially our water boards, they are allowed the space to operate and discharge the most important function, which is to bring water to the citizens, because there are those citizens who don't have water as we speak right now. especially in some rural parts of KwaZulu-Natal. But what is most important is that the leadership of the board, when there were allegations that were being made, they acted in terms of their fiduciary responsibility. And we should be able to welcome it. And our call as a ministry, we want them to continue to work with the law enforcement agencies until these matters are brought to finality.
And you said earlier that the ministry welcomes this. I want to ask you about that. But first, can we confirm that this all started because of a whistleblower? A whistleblower implicated the chair of the water board, and then more and more names were revealed. Is that correct?
We are correct. These incidents, they came on the basis of a whistleblower that raised certain issues. And on the basis of the whistleblowing mechanism that is there, that is provided by the Water Board, and the Water Board had to undertake these investigations, and the minister and ourselves as deputy ministers and the entire department were properly informed. We supported the initiative that is being taken, that these allegations must be investigated. And also one of the issues that is very important is that whistleblowers are an important component around issues of crime fighting and issues of fighting corruption. And it's also going to be the responsibility that we create those enabling conditions for whistleblowing, but at the very same time to protect whistleblowers.
Yes, because this is how we as a country treat whistleblowers and how government treats whistleblowers. You say the minister did everything, but in May there were reports that Minister Senzo Unu actually refused to act on claims initially. And the initial claim was against the chair of the board, Tabi Shange. The whistleblower said that Shange was abusing her position and receiving kickbacks from service providers, basically giving benefits to friends. Is that true that the minister did not act swiftly, and why?
Well, we need to be able to dismiss that that the ministry has not acted. Remember, this institution, there is a clear fiduciary responsibility, Francina. A water board is an entity that is established in terms of the Water Services Act. It has an accounting authority. The accounting authority is a board. Whenever there are allegations that are being raised, ministry is not the first instance of call. When these issues are being raised, then they get to be referred to that particular institution. And the board of directors, as governed by the Companies Act, including the King's Code, around
May I
dealing
come
with these
in
issues.
here, Deputy Minister? You're saying that it should go to the board, but apparently the whistleblower was making claims against the chair of the board. So surely then a minister should act with swiftness and take that seriously. Chair of the board.
No, even if it's the chair of the board, remember, even any member of the board, you cannot then try to have a situation where you will want to act outside the parameters of the law. Any member of an institution, whether we are the chair of the board, whether we are not the chair of the board, the most important instance that you do, when there are allegations, a proper referral gets to be made. The person that is being alleged, when the structure as a governing body, they sit to discuss these issues. That person that has a conflict of interest must be excused during the deliberation of that particular issue. But when an institution does not act as required by the law, that's when the minister should be able to intervene.
All right, the long and short is eventually the CEO was suspended, and we've seen a series of arrests now going through to the Premier's office. The investigators say along the way a lot of documents seem to be lost deliberately. It was hard to find a paper trail. And this points to a lack of governance, checks and balances along the way. This points to the safety of our water institutions. Like you say, this is one of the big ones, and there's a huge concern already in KwaZulu-Natal. What are you as the ministry doing on a bigger level? Because if it's happening at Mhlathuze, surely it's happening elsewhere.
Well, we should be able to indicate that if there are weaknesses on governance, like we are pointing it out, especially related to the incident that the law enforcement agencies have acted, let's allow them the space. to act without any fear or favor or contradiction and without our interference. But generally, the governance of our water institution, there are those that are very strong in terms of governance and they are performing well, including the audit outcomes. But there are certain of those water institutions, other water boards, that were acutely aware that they need support. They are not actually doing well. That's why we're embarking on a process of supporting them, including the reconfiguration. But when it comes to issues of accountability and the balance and checks, that's why we use the Auditor General for South Africa to be able to do some of those assessments, even our own in terms of our institutional capability as a state. We do have an oversight in this particular institution. But when it comes to issues of criminality, let's allow these law enforcement agencies, as they are doing their work, so that they can be able to bring finality to these issues.
All right, David Mahlobo, Water and Sanitation Deputy Minister. So it's up to you. Do you feel convinced that the ministry is taking corruption at water boards seriously? Water, the leaks in the Eastern Cape, the conditions in KwaZulu-Natal, a huge issue in this country.